make sure y'all can hear me, right? Testing one, two, three. Okay. About 3 nights ago, I had a dream. 3 nights or morning. Sometimes usually I have dreams in the morning, like between midnight and when I wake up. I had a dream. Now, in my dreams, there's many things that are signs in my dreams that the Most High has shown me over many decades. But one of the things that He shows whenever me or my wife have a dream concerning a little baby, it means we're going to have a new beginning in some part of our life, like something is coming new, something that is not present that's going to start. And it's usually a good thing. Like, so when we have a dream of a baby, that means we're starting a new beginning in some way, and it's a positive thing. It's always a good dream. So in this particular dream, I was in a room, and in this room there was my dresser, and my dresser was it was like in an older apartment, and my dresser was a little bit off from the wall because there were pipes for the heat behind, against the wall. See, and somebody had, I didn't know in the dream if it was my daughter or my wife. They had cleaned some clothes and folded up the clothes in a basket and set the basket on top of the dresser. You follow me so far? So I'm in a room and I can see this dresser, and it's got it's a basket, and it's full with clean folded clothes. And for some reason, I was disgusted in the dream. I was disgusted, not at the basket, but just something had happened that made me feel disgusted. It made me feel angry. And I had like a headset on. And I took the headset and tossed it across the room. And the headset hit the basket. And the basket fell backwards behind the dresser. And the clothes tumbled out behind the dresser. And I went over to pick them all up. And I heard a noise in the clothes. And at first I thought it was because we have 3 cats. I thought one of our cats like to play around in clothes and both clean and dirty clothes. So I thought maybe the cat had got into the basket and was falling over. But usually if that happens to a cat, it jumps right up. This noise was different, and it stayed in its place. And I realized it was the cooing sound of a baby. And I was scared because I was like, why would mommy or Jessica leave a baby in a basket like that with clean clothes? And I was like, what's going on? And I looked, and I was scared because the basket had tumbled over, and I thought the baby was hurt. But I looked through the clothes, and the baby was wrapped in a clean white sheet or like a towel. And it was like cooling because it was like sleep, like the fall had not hurt it at all. And I reached down because my hand could reach behind the pipe. I couldn't reach with 2 hands. And I grabbed the baby, and the baby was so small, it was like a newborn, like it could fit in your hand. You know how sometimes a newborn is only like 5 or 6 pounds, and it could basically fit in your hand. And I picked it up, and it never stopped sleeping or cooling as I picked it up. And I was worried, but then I looked at it, and it was okay. And I held it in my arms, and it was a pretty little baby. And I was like, wow. And that was the dream. And I knew it was a new beginning, and I wondered what it meant because I had just started a new job in December. Remember, I was asking for prayer about it, and I got this job. I just started this job in December, and I was on there already. So I said, well, what is this? Well, at the same time, I got the next day I got a call because some things have been happening at my job. Some negative things have been happening at my job. And about a week ago, I started sending out my resume because I was concerned. And actually, I told my supervisor, I said, I'm going to start looking. He wasn't threatening. In fact, he told me, you're doing a good job. He said, keep doing what you're doing. You're doing a good job. We're not having any problems with you. But there were other things happening on the job that had nothing to do with me. And it caused me, something told me, start sending out your resume, which was weird because I just started less than 2 months ago, about a week ago. So the next day, after I had that dream, that day, I got a call from a company about my resume. And the guy was talking to me and blah, blah, blah. And there was some positives and negatives about the job. It sounded intriguing, but it was a huge raise. I mean, a huge raise from my current job. Huge raise. And I was like, but then I thought at the time, I said, well, maybe this dream is telling me I need to stay put. My wife and I we always confer when we have a dream like that about what we think it means. And she said, well, it's a new beginning, but maybe it's a new beginning within your new job. Like maybe they're going to put you in another position. Maybe you should just stay put there. And I said, yeah, you're right. So what I did is I had set up a second interview from the person that called me about that job, wanted a second interview. They set up a second interview for yesterday morning at 8 o'clock. I was working from home yesterday. But I contacted him early that morning and I said, you know what, let's cancel that because there was one part of the job description that they said they wanted, and I didn't actually have that. So I said to him, I don't have experience in this area that you're asking about that on the job description. So let's just cancel. I don't want to waste your time. But then he came back to me and he said, no, that was more of a preference, a desire. It's not necessary. We still want to talk to you if you still want to talk. And I said, okay. So we had the interview. Meanwhile, I'm getting emails from my job, and negative emails. And now it's affecting me personally. And at the same time, this person interviewed me the second time. Then later yesterday, they called back with a third person to interview me. And then it looks like Monday they're going to tell me if I'm going to get the job or not. And it's way higher than the job I have now. So these things are happening at the same time. So I'm looking at this and I'm saying, it's a good thing I got that dream about the baby because it helps me now understand what's going on. You understand what I'm saying? So when I was getting these negative emails from my job, I would have freaked out a little bit if I hadn't known that the Most High showed me in a dream that there was going to be a new beginning. You see, so that's what I'm saying. The Most High gives us stuff. He gives us dreams. He gives us things beforehand. And he gives us prophecy so that we don't have to be surprised. We don't have to freak out. He's already showing us what's getting ready to happen. You understand what I'm saying? Everybody, I know it was a long story, but I'm trying to illustrate that point, that he gives us these things ahead of time so that we are not freaking out. We can stay, because brothers and sisters, make no mistake about it. Like I mentioned last night, there is a war, a serious war. The greatest war of all wars is going on constantly between Asatan and Messiah. And between their angels, their forces of angels, there is a constant war, and it's serious. And everything that you see spilling out into the physical world is something that's already transpired or that started behind in the spiritual world, where most people don't even see. But the Most High unveils that for us. You understand? And so I bring that out to say there's some scary things going on the earth. There's no question. But the Most High gives us comfort in prophecy. He gives us comfort so that we shouldn't be surprised. That's what Messiah told his disciples. He said, one of the things he said to them, he was telling them something, and he said, behold, I have told you before. He said, behold, I have told you before. Why is he saying it? Because he wants us to understand. If he's telling us beforehand, don't be surprised when you see it. And be calm, because he's already told you how it's going to come out. He's already told you. Okay? Already told you. So that's the purpose of prophecy. And when we're studying these things, we see things happening on the earth, like this virus or some war or some situation. We don't need to be worried about that because he's already told us it was coming. He's always told us so that we can, and he's already shown us he's going to guide us through. He's already shown us he's going to guide us through. You understand? So as we continue to seek glory for the Father, yes, and he will give it to you. He will give it to you, Akat. He will give it to you. If you ask him, he'll give it to you. Because he wants you to know. He wants you to know. See, one of the things my wife and I learned, for many decades he had been talking to us. But all the time, like sometimes our will would be at conflict with what he's trying to show us. Like, for example, he would show us, y'all getting ready to go through a hard time. And we would say, oh, maybe it's not coming yet. Or maybe it's not what we think it means. Or maybe it's not going to be that long. And we were trying to, talk around what he's showing us instead of just receiving what he's showing us. And that's a lot of times our own desires conflict with what he's trying to show us. You understand? Like when he was showing me, you're not going to stay in the SDA church. You're not going to stay there. Now, at the time, I would never believe I would leave the SDA church. Ever. I'm fourth generation. I was fourth generation in that church. Goes back to my great-grandfather in Jamaica. So I was like, I would never dream. But sure enough, I had to leave that church. And he showed me that. He showed me that a long time ago. But I wasn't receiving it. So therefore, when it was coming on me, I was still struggling because I hadn't received what he was showing me. And oftentimes, if he's showing you something, it's not always, it's definitely, in fact, let me just say not always, it's going to be 100% of the time what you don't expect. It's going to be 100% of the time what you don't expect. Therefore, we have to learn to just receive what he gives us. Isn't that like the case with truth in general? Like if you're seeking truth, and the Bible shows us that the devil deceiveth the whole world in Revelation chapter 12. It shows us the devil deceiveth the whole world. So all of us, every single one of us, are coming out of some form of deception. All of us are. If a person act like they've never been deceived, they're pompous and they're lying. Period. Everybody's been deceived. Everybody. I don't care who you are. It's like a person trying to claim to have never lied. I mean, come on, right? Come on, right? So everybody has. So if you're coming into truth, you are definitely coming out of some form of darkness. And every time you gain truth, every time you learn more light from the Most High, it means that something you previously believed you didn't quite understand, or you were totally wrong, something along those lines. So therefore, if he's showing us something, generally it's not going to be what we want it to be. It's not. Okay. So I left the job I was very comfortable in, where my bosses liked me. The company, in fact, when I was leaving, he said, if you want to come back, you can come on back anytime you want. I left that to take this next job. And I got a raise there too. And then now this one, and I'm still wondering, why is it he put me in this one to take me out of that to go? But listen, I can't question the Most High. All I can do is receive what he showed. You understand? All you can do is receive what he showed. And that's true for all of us. And so when we struggle, a lot of times he's trying to talk to us. He's trying to tell us something, but we just not receiving. We just not receiving it because maybe we don't want to hear it. Like, for example, I'll give you another one. I'll give you another example. You with a person that you are attracted to, and you and that person are going together, but the Most High is showing you this is not the one. This is not the one. And you're like, this got to be the one. I'm so in love with this person. I'm so attracted to this person. We click it, we kick it so well. This got to be the one. He's like, nope, this is not the one. And the more you fight it, the more trouble you're going to have. The more trouble you're going to have. You're going to be limited in your spiritual growth. You're going to be limited in your growth in life. You're going to be limited in giving glory to the Father. Why? Because you're not hearing what he's trying to tell you. He's trying to tell you something, you're not hearing it. And that's a big one. I think everybody can relate to that. You understand? Or you want something a certain way, or you want to believe it a certain way, and he's trying to show you, no, that's not right. That's not right. That's not right. And you won't receive it. That's hindering you from growth. That's hindering you. Your own self hindering you from growth. And it's not like none of us do that. We all do that. That's what I'm saying. That's a natural reaction. It's really our first reaction. And as you start to learn and grow and receive from the Most High, you have experience receiving from him, it gets easier to hear what he's saying and just listen to what he's saying and go with that. Go with that. You understand? So that's part of the reason. He's always trying to talk to his people. In fact, let's take a look at it. Amos chapter 3. Amos chapter 3. From verse 1 to verse 7, with the emphasis on verse 7. Amos chapter 3, from verse 1 to verse 7. Notice what it says. Hear this word that Yahweh has spoken against you, O children of Israel, against the whole family which I brought up from the land of Egypt, saying, you only have I known of all the families of the earth. Therefore I will punish you for all your iniquities. Can two walk together except they be agreed? When a lion roar in the forest, will a lion roar in the forest when he have taken no prey? Will a young lion cry out of his den if he have taken nothing? Can a bird fall in a snare upon the earth where no gin is for him? Shall one take up a snare from the earth and have taken nothing at all? Shall a trumpet be blown in the city and the people not be afraid? Shall there be evil in the city and Yahweh have not done it? Surely the Most High Yah will do nothing, but he revealeth his secrets unto his servants the prophets. See, he doesn't do anything, and that's why Messiah doesn't hide anything from his people. Remember, he told his disciples, I told you all things, whatever I receive of my Father, I give to you. I don't hold nothing back from you. Brothers and sisters, that has not changed. That has not changed. He's always trying to talk to us. It's just that we won't hear. And that's what even he told his disciples. Remember, he said to his disciples, he said, I got many things to say you, but you can't bear them now. Isn't that what he said? He said he wanted to show them more. But he told them, he said, you're not ready for this. I can't give it to you. I can't give it to you yet. Because you're not ready to hear it. You understand? And that's us. That's us. That's definitely us. See? And so once we recognize that, we can learn, we can grow, we can receive. Once we recognize that's us, I'm having trouble. And so now I get a dream and either it's negative or I say, Father, I don't understand. Please show me what this means. And I don't want to fight him now. So he'll show me. And I have to receive it. Like, I had no intention of moving to Washington, D.C. I had no intention of moving to Washington, D.C. It is not, never has been one of my favorite cities ever. But when he showed me this is where you're going, I was fighting it. I said, oh, it must be New York. Oh, no, it must be someplace upstate. Oh, it must be someplace. No, it was Washington, D.C. And I knew it was, but I was fighting it, see? And then he brought me here. And he brought me here. And he has a reason for that. But when I surrendered to it, now I'm glad I'm here because he wants me here. No better place for a person to be than where y'all want you to be. No better place. I don't care what you think about it. If he wants me in Alaska and I don't want to go to Alaska, well, I'll be happy going there because he wants me there. Okay? He wants me there. It's the same for all of us. We got to receive what he's showing us for what it is and not try to change it for what it's not because we don't like it or because it's not what we expected. Okay. Didn't mean to go that far off on a tangent, but y'all got the point. He shows us something in advance to prepare us so that we're not shocked. When shocking things happen, we're not shocked. Let the other people be shocked. But he is showing us ahead of time, and all prophecy is for that purpose. And so we're studying Isaiah. Let's take a look. Now, earlier in Isaiah, we're looking at 17 and 18 today, but earlier in Isaiah, let's go back for a minute to what we had studied just a few weeks ago in Isaiah. Where was this? Yes, Isaiah chapter 7. Let's look back for a second, just what we studied a few weeks ago. Isaiah chapter 7. And I'm going to read verse 1 and 2 of Isaiah chapter 7. 1 and 2, because this is going to help us as we go into chapter 17, understand what's going on. And it came to pass in the days of Ahaz, the king of Jotham, the son of Uzziah, king of Judah, that Rezin, the king of Syria, and Pekah, the son of Remaliah, king of Israel, went up toward Jerusalem to war against it, but could not prevail against it. And it was told the house of David, saying, Syria is confederate with Ephraim. And his heart was moved, and the heart of his people as the trees of the wood are moved with the wind. So they were hurt that their own brother, even though they had aught with their brother Ephraim, they didn't expect Ephraim to join with Syria against them. That hurt them. See, that hurt them because Ephraim is the bloodline, part of the bloodline. Syria is not. And if you look at the history, many times the Syrians came to invade Judah, came to invade Israel. Many times the Syrians did that in the Bible history. And so it makes sense that as we're looking at the burdens of the prophet of Isaiah, he's going to talk about Syria. Now, before we go there, though, there's a backdrop that we need to consider. There's a backdrop that we need to consider. We're in these last days of Babylon's history. I should say last days of Earth's history, but it's not really the last days of Earth's history because Earth is going to continue. But it's the last days of Babylon's history, right? It's Babylon is going to be destroyed. This spiritual Babylon that is economic, religious, and political in its nature, it's going to be destroyed. Let's take a look at this. Daniel. Let's take a look at Daniel first. And again, brothers and sisters, as you have noticed, I believe you have noticed, we spend a lot of time in prophecy. Why do we do that? Because why? Because prophecy tells us, again, what's coming. You hear what I'm saying? Prophecy tells us what's coming. You want to know what's coming? Study prophecy. Ask the Father to guide you through prophecy, and He'll show you what's coming. See, and that's why it's important, brothers and sisters. I'm saying this in all sincerity. It's important that men who are experienced with the Word, who have read through it continually, who have spent many years with it, be the ones teaching these things. Because you get novices or young people in this message, and they start trying to run off with things. And brothers and sisters, it mislead people just so that they can look like they right, or just so they can get themselves a name. This is not about getting a name. This is not about trying to get a reputation. This is about preparation, brothers and sisters. Being ready. It's about being ready. One thing the Father always has for His people, He wants to make sure we are prepared. You understand? He wants to always make sure we're prepared. That's what this thing is about. So as we study Daniel, I'm not going to spend an inordinate amount of time in there, though it's worthy of definitely consideration, because we have studied Daniel before, and by the grace of Most High, we'll study it again in its entirety. But I want to go to a couple of important points. First, let's start in Daniel's dream of Daniel chapter 2 of the great statue. You know the dream, Daniel chapter 2, the great statue. And let's take a look at that, just to give a backdrop. Nebuchadnezzar, the king of Babylon, had a dream. He forgot the dream, but it was an important dream concerning the latter days of history. And so he went to his magicians and his astrologers, and he told them, please tell me what I dreamt and tell me what it means. And they couldn't believe that he would ask such a thing. I mean, they kept saying, well, just tell us the dream, king, and we'll interpret it for you. He said, I forgot the dream. He said, I need you to tell me what I dreamt and then tell me what it means. And when they couldn't do it, he said, all y'all are fake. I'm paraphrasing. All y'all fake. I'm killing all y'all. And so he went to go kill all the wise men of Babylon, sent out his servants to do it. But then Daniel was there. And Daniel asked what was going on. He didn't know what happened. So the man told him. And Daniel said, give me time. I'll tell the king what he dreamt. So the man went back to the king and told me, he said, I'm going to give him some time, because the king wanted to know. It wasn't just that he wanted to kill everybody. He wanted to know what he dreamt. So Daniel, of course, went back with his three friends, Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah. They prayed to the Most High, and the Most High revealed to them Nebuchadnezzar's dream. Then Daniel was brought in to tell Nebuchadnezzar what he dreamt. And the thing is, he not only told Nebuchadnezzar what he dreamt, he told Nebuchadnezzar, because the Most High revealed to him, what was in Nebuchadnezzar's mind before he fell asleep. Before Nebuchadnezzar fell asleep that day, he was thinking about the future. You see, Nebuchadnezzar was trying to understand what was the future. He was different. He was trying to understand different religions. He was trying to find the truth, and he ended up finding it, as Daniel chapter 4 reveals to us, and Daniel chapter 5. But he was trying to figure out what the future, what was in the future, what was happening, what was going to happen in the future to him, to his country, to the world. He wanted to know. And so he fell asleep with that thought, and the Most High gave him a dream about it. And Daniel told him, this is what you were thinking, and this is what you dreamt. Nebuchadnezzar, of course, was so overwhelmed, being a heathen, he started trying to worship Daniel, right? Because heathens do that. When heathens overwhelmed with a man, they start to worship him. That's what heathens do. But see, we Israelites, we don't worry about that. We give glory to Father Yah, right? We don't give glory to no man, no matter who he is. No matter who he is, what great thing he does. Ain't no man worthy of glory, only Father. But you see, Nebuchadnezzar's a heathen, so he do that. He started lighting incense to Daniel and all this stuff. So let's see what Daniel showed him about this dream he had. Let's see. In fact, Daniel gives us the example. Let's start at chapter 2 of Daniel from verse 30. From chapter 2 of Daniel, verse 30. Notice what it is. Chapter 2 of Daniel, verse 30. We're going to start there. Daniel says, but as for me, this secret is not revealed to me for any wisdom that I have more than any living. But for their sake, thou shalt make known the interpretation to the king, that thou mightest know the thoughts of thy heart. He said, for their sakes, the verse before, he was talking about the latter days, the people that should live in the latter days. Okay, Joseph, when it comes back, just let me know. Don't worry about it. He says, he's talking about the latter days. So now he's going to show Nebuchadnezzar what he dreamt. Verse 31. Thou, O king, sawest, and behold, a great image. This great image, whose brightness was excellent, stood before thee, and the form thereof was terrible. So first thing he shows him, you saw an image, and it was a very magnificent image. You saw it, you stood before you looked at it. Okay? Then he goes on to describe the image. Let's read from verse 32 down to verse 36. This image's head was of fine gold, his breast and his arms of silver, his bellies and his thighs of brass, his legs of iron, his feet part of iron and part of clay. Thou sawest till that a stone was cut out without hand, which smote the image upon his feet, that were of iron and clay, and brake them to pieces. Then was the iron, the clay, the brass, the silver, and the gold broken to pieces together, and became like the chaff of the summer threshing floor. And the wind carried them away, that no place was found for them. And the stone that smote the image became a great mountain and filled the whole earth. This is the dream, and we will tell the interpretation thereof to the king. So now, you all have had this scenario, right? Where you dreamt something and you forgot what you dreamt. And then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, one day, something reminded you of the dream and it came back to you. You remember that? Yeah. Did it ever happen to any of y'all? So you dreamt something and you forgot what you dreamt. But then something happened or some situation or you see something and all of a sudden the dream that you had comes back to you and you remember that you dreamt about something, right? That's what happened. All of a sudden he's describing to Nebuchadnezzar what he's seen, and Nebuchadnezzar's like, that's it. That's exactly what I saw. So now Daniel's really blowing his mind. And then he said, then Daniel turns around and says, okay, this is your dream. Now let's interpret it for you. And I'm sure he's got Nebuchadnezzar's rapt attention right now. All right? So now he's going to interpret the dream. Daniel chapter 2, from verse 37. Let's see, from verse 37 down to verse 40. Thou, O king, art a king of kings. The Most High of heaven hath given thee a kingdom, power, and strength, and glory. And wheresoever the children of men dwell, the beasts of the field, the fowls of the heaven, hath he given into thy hand, and hath made thee ruler over them all. Thou art this head of gold. And after thee shall arise another kingdom, inferior to thee, and another third kingdom of brass, which shall bear rule over all the earth. And the fourth kingdom shall be strong as iron, for as much as iron breaketh in pieces, and subdueth all things, as iron that breaketh all these, it shall break in pieces and bruise. Okay. So he told him, and if you notice, of course, it's obvious, many people have pointed this out, so it's pretty obvious. You have the metals are declining in value, but increasing in hardness as it gets down the statue. So the first metal is gold, the most valuable one. Then you got silver, then there's brass, then there's iron. Iron is the least valuable, but it's the strongest in terms of its, its heaviness, right? So it goes all the way from gold to iron. Now, the thing we have to understand that these are kingdoms. Daniel says to him, these are successive kingdoms, okay? The head of gold was Babylon, but the iron went all the way into the feet, right? So what does that tell you? The iron, in fact, let's take a look at it. In Daniel chapter 2, let's read from verse 41, from verse 41 down to verse 44. Daniel chapter 2, from 41 to 44. Think about that iron, though, from 41 to 44. Notice what it says. Whereas thou sawest the feet and toes, part of potter's clay, part of iron, the kingdom shall be divided, but there shall be in it of the strength of the iron. For as much as thou sawest the iron mixed with miry clay, as the toes of the feet were part of iron and part of clay, so the kingdom shall be partly strong and partly broken. Whereas thou sawest iron mixed with miry clay, they shall mingle themselves with the seed of men, but they shall not cleave one to another, even as iron is not mixed with clay. But in the days of these kings shall the Most High of heaven set up a kingdom which shall never be destroyed. And the kingdom shall not be left to other people, but it shall break in pieces and consume all these kingdoms, and it shall stand forever. Okay. So the iron goes all the way to the feet. And at the feet is where the kingdom is destroyed, right? At the feet is where the kingdom is destroyed. So the iron is going to be in power at the time of the destruction of the whole thing. Y'all follow me? So So with all of these kingdoms, the iron's going to be in power at the time this rock hits it. Okay? In fact, let's take a look at that. That's verse 45. Verse 45. Daniel chapter 2, verse 45. For as much as thou sawest that the stone was cut out of the mountain without hands, and that it break in pieces the iron and the brass, the clay, the silver, and the gold, the great Most High have shown to the king what shall come to pass hereafter. And the dream is certain, and the interpretation thereof sure. So the rock that is cut out of a mountain without hands, what is that? Well, first you get a hint when it tells you that it's going to be a kingdom that's going to fill the whole earth and stand forever. Well, whose kingdom? That's right. Whose king going to stand forever and be in the whole earth? That's Messiah, obviously. And that's why Messiah is called what? David said, he is my rock. Isn't that what David said? He is my rock and my fortress, in whom I trust. Okay. So, yeah, and of course, Messiah representing the Father. So the mountain that it cut out of is the Father. Messiah come as a piece of the Father and destroys this whole thing. Now, but again, let's focus on the iron. So when it takes over and destroys all these kingdoms, it strikes it in the iron of the feet. So it's telling you that the kingdom that's representing the iron is going to be around all the way to the end, which means that the kingdom that's representing the iron is here right now. Are you following? The kingdom that's representing the iron is here right now. So we know the goal was Babylon. And of course, let's go to Daniel 7 real quick, and it'll show us all the kingdoms. It'll tell us what they are. So let's go from Daniel chapter 7. It's the same. See, some people, unfortunately, don't see that Daniel 2 and Daniel 7 are saying the same thing, and so is Daniel 8. They don't really see it. It's unfortunate, but it's right there in front of you. So he's repeating. This is one I said where the prophet gets the same message repeated to him, and more information is given, and he's getting to look at it from different angles. The dream that Daniel interpreted in Daniel 2 is now shown again in Daniel 7 to Daniel. So let's take a look at it. Daniel chapter 7. Now, instead of 4 metals, it's 4 animals, 4 different types of animals, but it's the same thing. Okay, so let's take a look. Daniel chapter 7. Let's start at verse 1 and go down from verse 1 down to verse 7. Daniel chapter 7, 1 through 7. In the first year of Belshazzar, king of Babylon, Daniel had a dream and visions of his head upon his bed. Then he wrote the dream and told the sum of the matter. Daniel spake and said, I saw in my vision by night, and behold, the 4 winds of the heaven strove upon the great sea. And 4 great beasts came up from the sea, diverse one from another. The first was like a lion, and had eagle's wings. I beheld, till the wings thereof were plucked, and it was lifted up from the earth, and made to stand up upon the feet as a man, and a man's heart was given to it. And behold, another beast, a second, like to a bear, and it raised itself on one side, and it had 3 ribs in the mouth of it between the teeth of it. And they said thus unto it, Arise, devour much flesh. After this I beheld, and lo, another like a leopard, which had upon the back of it 4 wings of a fowl. The beast also had 4 heads, and dominion was given to it. And after this I saw in the night visions, and behold, a 4th beast, dreadful and terrible and strong exceedingly, and it had great iron teeth, and devoured and brake in pieces and stamped the residue with the feet of it. And it was diverse from all the beasts that were before it, and it had 10 horns. So you can see here, the 4th beast of Daniel 7 is the 4th metal of Daniel 2. Okay? And again, a beast represents a kingdom. And it's still around today. It came after the Greeks, which were represented by the 3rd beast. In fact, let me show you that in the scriptures. Daniel chapter 8. Let me let the scriptures show you, I should say. Daniel chapter 8 shows us. Now, again, Belshazzar is the king of Babylon. That's Nebuchadnezzar's kingdom. Belshazzar ends up being carried off the scene. And so In Daniel 8, he's going past Belshazzar and he's going to the last three. So let's take a look at Daniel chapter 8. And then we're not going to go into the whole vision. I'm just going to show you the interpretation so you can see the kingdoms that are involved here. Okay. Let's start at verse 20. Verse 20 and 21 shows us the second and third kingdom. He's already shown us that the king of Babylon was the first one. So the second and third one, verse 20 and 21. The ram which thou sawest having two horns are the kings of Media and Persia. And the rough goat is the king of Grecia. And the great horn that is between his eyes is the first king. So here you got the Media Persian Empire. That's one empire. Then you got the Greek Empire. Y'all follow me? So the second empire is the Media Persian Empire. That's why the Bible says it was a bear that raised itself up on one side, because the Medes came first, but the Persians were stronger and richer. And then came the Greeks with Alexander, who was called the Great. They came after. That was the third empire. Now, we're already here. Tell me, what empire, world empire, came and dominated after the Greek Empire? What world empire came and dominated after the Greek Empire? Very simple. It's Rome. Yeah, and you can see that when you go into the New Testament. Because the Romans are now ruling when you go in the New Testament. New Testament shows you who they are because it's Rome ruling. At the time Messiah returned, at the time Messiah first appearance, it's Rome. So now, let's go back to what we talked about. So now, based on what Daniel has shown us in chapter 2, Rome is going to be running things. He's not going to be running things the way he wants to, because it's iron mixed with clay. Not going to be running things the way he wants to, completely. But he's going to be mixed in everything. And it's the time of that kingdom that the whole thing gets destroyed. So now, how is it that Rome is running things? They don't appear to be any kingdom, right? But the Bible tells us that this little horn controls the whole earth. See, that's what I'm saying. We got to believe what the Bible is showing us, not what the news, not what the news media is showing. So let's look again. Let's just look at a couple more verses in Daniel so we can get this completely. Daniel chapter 7. Let's look at the fourth beast again. Let's look at verse 7 and 8 just to start us off here. And we're going to read not all of Daniel 7. We're going to read a few verses just to get this fourth beast clear. Okay. Daniel 7, 7 and 8. And I saw in the night visions, and behold, a fourth beast, dreadful and terrible, and strong exceeding. And it had great iron teeth, and it devoured and brake in pieces and stamped the residue with the feet of it. And it was diverse from all the beasts that were before it, and it had 10 horns. And I considered the horn, and behold, there came up among them another little horn, before whom three of the first horns plucked up by the roots. And behold, in this horn were eyes like the eyes of a man, and a mouth speaking great things. Didn't Revelation say he speak great things and blasphemy? Didn't it say that? Speak great things and blasphemy. There you go. So the Rome is a situation. Let's just discuss this. The papacy of Rome is a kingdom. How is it a kingdom? Somebody might ask. It's the only nation on earth that has the same person that's the head of its church, which is a worldwide church, the Roman Catholic Church, and the head of a state, which is the Vatican City, is a state. It's its own country within Rome. Okay? So there's no other place on the planet where you have one man that's running both the religious side and the political side. You say, where's their armies? The armies of Rome are in the Pentagon, and in England, and in Germany, are in France. All of these people are controlled by the same man in the Vatican. Now, in the Vatican, they have a black pope behind the one that we see. The black pope is the head of the Jesuit order. And he's a figurehead because the real black pope is Asatan, right? The Bible says Asatan gave him his power, his seat, and his great authority. So they all worship at Asatan, and while they putting on a front, they done created Christianity to put on a front so that everybody will be deceived. Well, let me ask you, even if you think your Christian church is the truth, every Christian church think they the truth, right? But I think if you ask them, are all the other churches deceived? Yep. You ask the Jehovah's Witness, are y'all the truth? Yep. And all the other churches deceived? Yep. You ask the SDA, are y'all the truth? Yep. All the other churches deceived? Yep. You ask the Baptists, are the other churches deceived? Yep. It's only Baptists. But all of them deceived, because Christianity is the deception. Christianity itself is the deception. Most people don't get that. It's the deception. Because why we know that? Because all the scriptures that we read, all the prophets didn't speak of any Christianity, did they? And Messiah comes on and he didn't create any new religion. He's Messiah to the Hebrew. He's Messiah to the Hebrew. He didn't create any new religion. So where does new religion come from? The pagans. They created it and they use Messiah and they you know what they like to do is they like to remarket and remodel and re-engineer. That's what they into. Remarket, remodel, re-engineer. They created a white Jesus. They created a whole system. And now you have offshoots that were fighting. All of these Protestant churches are just coming from history of fighting against their mother church, which is Rome. Repackaged, that's right. You like to do that slick marketing. They've been doing that many centuries. It ain't new. Nothing new under the sun. And that's all good because the Most High is still awakening his people. See, brothers and sisters, the world doesn't realize it, but the awakening that the Hebrew people are undergoing is a salvation to the earth. Salvation to the people of the earth, those that will receive it. So now let's continue just a couple more verses from Daniel chapter 7 about this little horn, which we know to be the Roman Catholic Church. Now I want you to show you something. Daniel chapter 7. Again, he's going to tell us, let's start at verse 16. Actually, let's start at verse 15 and read from verse 15 down to verse 23. Okay? From chapter 5, from verse 15, Daniel chapter 7, down to verse 23. Notice what it said. I, Daniel, was grieved in my spirit, in the midst of my body, and the visions of my head troubled me. I came near unto one of them that stood by and asked him the truth of all this. So he told me and made me know the interpretation of things. These great beasts, which are four kings which shall arise out of the earth. But the saints, that is the Israelite people, the saints of the Most High, shall take the kingdom and possess the kingdom forever, even forever and ever. Praise the Most High. Then I would know the truth of the fourth beast, which was diverse from all the others, exceeding dreadful, whose teeth were of iron and his nails of brass, which devoured and brake in pieces and stamped the residue with his feet, and of the 10 horns that were in his head, and of the other which came up, before whom three fell, even of that horn that had eyes and a mouth that spake very great things, whose look was more stout than his fellows. I beheld, and the same horn made war with the saints and prevailed against them until the Ancient of Days came, and judgment was given to the saints of the Most High. See, I say judgment given to us. You understand? Judgment not against us, it's given to us. You see that? Until the Ancient of Days came, and judgment was given to the saints of the Most High. And the time came that the saints possessed the kingdom. Thus he said, the fourth beast shall be the fourth kingdom upon the earth, which shall be diverse from all kingdoms. That's different from anything before it. And shall devour the whole earth, and shall tread it down and break it in pieces. This is the point I wanted to get to. So the fourth kingdom, or Rome, is different. How is it different? You got a kingdom that's basically the size of a small town, and yet it controls armies, governments of the entire earth. The Roman Vatican controls the Federal Reserve of the United States, which controls the monetary policy of the United States. It controls the central bank in England. It controls the central bank in all the countries. The Rome has y'all know, Vatican has its own central bank, and that all the other banks pay fees to Rome Central Bank, and any money that's transferred into or out of Europe has to go through the Vatican and pay a fee. Yes, all of them do. And so when you see troops moving on certain places, y'all need to remember who's really behind it. You think it's George Bush, or you think it's Donald Trump or Barack Obama? No, it's Rome. See, brothers and sisters, Rome is at the top of the pyramid with Asatan. Everybody else is just fighting for the crumbs. See? What do I mean by that? Dollar bills are pieces of paper, right? They have fooled us into thinking that these pieces of paper are so valuable we could kill each other for it. It's so valuable we can sell our souls for it, so we can buy things that are going to be destroyed. Isn't that right? Money, right? Money, 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 money. That was back in my day. Money, 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 money. Remember that? Money, right? Some people gotta have it. Some people really need it. Yeah, yeah. Remember that? And then later on, another brother came along and he rapped about it. He called it cream. He said, cash rules everything around me. That was cream. That was in the 90s. He said, cash rules everything around me. That's right. So, brothers and sisters, the earth is everybody that see. Vatican is not worried about money per se, but they want to control everything. They control freaks, like they father the devil. So they want to control everything. But money doesn't mean anything because they can create it at any time. You see, brothers and sisters, you ever wonder why the United States never runs out of money? They can print as much as they need. They can create as much as they need. They got money for anything they want. You understand? They can create and print whatever they want to. There's no limited supply of money. It's unlimited. And everybody's chasing it where it's just pieces of paper. It's just pieces of paper that you could buy stuff with. Okay? In the kingdom that we're going to inhabit, there'll be no more pieces of paper. Correct? There'll be no more pieces of paper. No more need to buy stuff with pieces of paper. No more people trying to kill each other over that. It is the root of all evil. Indeed it is. So, it devours the whole earth. Where does that come into what we're talking about today? We have to remember, in the backdrop of everything we're studying, Rome is ruling and controlling everything. When you see Islamic uprisings, when you see government takeovers of other governments, everything is happening because Rome wants to dominate. Remember now, it's iron mixed with clay. So they don't have the complete domination that they want. You understand? They're going to for a very short time. Remember what the Bible said. These 10 horns are 10 kings which have received no kingdom as yet, Revelation 17 tells us, but receive power as kings 1 hour with the beast. See? So he's working to get back that power. That world power for the whole earth. And that's why the Bible says it shall devour the whole earth and tread it down and break it in pieces. Brothers and sisters, what you got now? You got corporations that are understanding that they're polluting the earth, but don't care. Why? Because they're getting money. You understand? Like I named Monsanto. Monsanto has done more to pollute the earth and kill people with its chemicals than most of these companies on the earth. And yet, why do they do it when they know what they're doing is destroying the earth? For money, for power, for influence and control. You understand? That's why the Bible says that the time has come that the dead should be judged and that he should destroy them which destroy the earth. Remember that? Revelation, we just read that, Revelation chapter 11. He said he should destroy them that destroy the earth. That's what he's talking about. People that are willing to even kill and destroy for the sake of greed and power and control. Okay? The only being that has right to control this earth is the creator of this earth. You understand? See, Asatan is deceiving the earth and acting like he has a right to control it. No. Just because he has induced Adam and Eve to sin, he think he got a right to control it. No, because Messiah has already come and he's already won back the earth to the kingdom of his Father. He's already taken it back. Because he died, he rose again, he overcame death, and now he represents a people on the earth that are the chosen people that are going to overcome like he overcame. And so now Asatan knows his time is short. His kingdom is short-lived. It's not going to last. He knows that. So right now he's going stark raving mad. And he's getting people to kill each other, to do all kinds of crazy things for the greed, for power, for control, for self-interest. That's what he's doing. But again, we go back to our desire as Israelite people, as people that are the chosen nation of the Most High. Our desire is the glory of the Father. That's our desire, the glory of the Father. Our desire is that his righteousness should be revealed in us. See, brothers and sisters, with just a word. I mean, just literally a word. Father or Messiah can end the existence of the earth. They could do it. Not even lifting a hand, just a word. But what are they doing? They are trying to develop us so that we can be examples of his righteousness on this earth. Because he's going to win. He's going to take it over. We just saw it. He said, the kingdom shall go to the saints forever, even forever and ever. And then Daniel told Nebuchadnezzar that his kingdom shall never be destroyed. It shall never be left to other people. Forever and ever. So there's no question. See, we already have the word. Father's telling us this ain't going to last. So we shouldn't be surprised. So with that backdrop and with understanding Syria's history with Israel, see, right now, Syria is one of the nations that do not recognize Israel. Syria does not recognize Israel, the state of Israel. They don't recognize. What do I mean by that? That means when the United Nations created the state of Israel in 1948, these are not chosen people. These are not Semites. These are not people that Yah has chosen as above all people of the earth. No, these is man. This is European. This is Japhet that's trying to make itself into Israel. These are Edomites. And so when they came with the unction of the United Nations, was really Britain and the United States and France leading, pushing them into this land, but with their own desire by this Balfour Agreement that they had. When they came in there, most of the nations didn't recognize them as an existing state. So when the nations don't recognize you, that means they don't take your diplomats, they don't care. To them, you don't exist. And so Syria has not recognized Israel from the beginning. And from the beginning, the world has been at war. Rome has been at war with Syria. So Syria got it from both ends, you see. Syria is catching it because why? Because first they're at war with Rome, which is a bad thing, and they're not following Yah either, which is a bad thing. This is part of the clay that the Bible is talking about. See, they fighting with the iron. I'm not sure if it was that one, but I know it was 48 that the United Nations voted to create the state. It was 1948. Yeah, I know what you're talking about, though. But no, it may have been, but it was definitely 1948 that the state was created. And prior to that, there was a Balfour Agreement that was made with Winston Churchill and the Ashkenazi leaders in New York and in Germany and in England, that they would help the United States get into the war, that they would use their money and influence to get the United States into the war and help deliver the war for the English, but they wanted that land. They wanted that land. And that's exactly what happened, that Balfour Agreement. Okay. So they're not supposed to be there. They're not Semites. So when somebody's against them, it's not anti-Semitic. That's all a construct that they made up to brainwash the people. Brainwash the people. So Syria is in the middle of all this. Syria is following Sunni Islam. They got other religions in Syria, but their biggest religion is Sunni Islam, and they got Kurdish people there, which is another sect of Sunni Islam, and they got Christians there, and they even got some Ashkenazis there. But they always under fire because they don't recognize Israel as a nation. They refuse. And they fighting against Rome at the same time. So they really got all kinds of enemies. And so they're getting spanked around. They're getting smacked around. And that's what here, Isaiah 17 is going to talk about. Let's take a look at it. Isaiah 17, beginning at verse 1. Isaiah 17, beginning at verse 1. Let's go from verse 1 down to verse 7, Isaiah chapter 17. The burden of Damascus. Behold, now Damascus is the city, the main city in Syria, just to let you know. Damascus is the capital city of Syria. Okay, that's why he's talking about Syria here, even though it's Damascus. All right. The burden of Damascus. Behold, Damascus is taken away from being a city. It shall be a ruinous heap. The cities of Arar are forsaken. They shall be for flocks, which shall lie down, and none shall make them afraid. The fortress also shall cease from Ephraim, and the kingdom from Damascus, and the remnant of Syria. They shall be as the glory of the children of Israel, saith Yahweh of hosts. And in that day it shall come to pass that the glory of Jacob shall be made thin, and the fatness of his flesh shall wax lean. And it shall be as when the harvestman gathereth the corn and reapeth the ear of it with his arm. It shall be as he that gathereth ears in the valley of Raphaim. Yet gleaning grapes shall be left in it, as the shaking of an olive tree, 2 or 3 berries in the top of the uttermost bough, 4 or 5 of the outermost fruitful branches thereof, says Yahweh Most High of Israel. And at that day shall a man look to his maker, and his eyes shall have respect to the Holy One of Israel. So apparently, as a result of them getting smacked around, some people are going to get salvation as a result of them getting smacked around. Well, isn't that how it works, brothers and sisters? Does he have to chastise people that he wants to save? Yeah, because all of us fight against him. All of us fight against him. Praise the Most High. He shall not look to his altars, the work of his hands, neither shall respect that which his fingers have made, either the groves or the images. In that day shall his strong cities be as a forsaken bough, and an uppermost branch which they left because of the children of Israel, and there shall be desolation. Because thou hast forgotten the Most High of thy salvation, and hast been mindful of not been mindful of the rock of thy strength, therefore shalt thou plant pleasant plants, and shalt set it with strange slips. In the day shalt thou make thy plant to grow, in the morning shalt thou make thy seed to flourish, but the harvest shall be a heap. In the day of grief and of desperate sorrow. I'm sorry, Isha, I'm not giving you the scriptures, but I'm glad you're keeping up anyway. So you can see here, this prophecy is obviously against Syria, and it's telling Syria they're going to return to their maker. They're going to return to the maker, right? Praise the Most High Yah. Let's go from verse 12 down to verse 14 and finish this chapter. Woe to the multitude of many people which make a noise like the noise of the sea, and to the rushing of nations that make a rushing like the rushing of mighty waters. The nations shall rush like the rushing of many waters, but Yah shall rebuke them. And they shall flee far off, and shall be chased as the chaff of the mountains before the wind, and like a rolling thing before the whirlwind. And behold, at eventide trouble, and before the morning he is not. This is the portion of them that spoil us, and a lot of them that rob us. That's the bottom line, isn't it? Syria has fought against Israel, the true people of Israel, when they were there, and they're going to get what they got coming. Matter of fact, they were already catching it right now. They were already catching it. If you look at Syria today, this is what's going on. They're catching it from all sides. And somebody poisoned their people with poison gas and killed thousands of their residents. It was in a city called Aleppo. A few years ago it started. And we don't know who did it, but we kind of do know who did it based on the Bible. But the United States is blaming the king of Assyria. His name is Assad, for poisoning his own people. Well, let me ask you a question. Why would any king poison their own people and kill them? That doesn't even make sense, does it? And yet that's the what do you call that? That's the official record that Assad is killing his own people. Yeah. So we don't know who's really doing it. Well, we kind of got an idea when we look at the Bible, and we can see who's really doing it, but we see who's being blamed. We're going to take a break now. We will continue with chapter 18 and possibly go into chapter 19, but we'll probably continue with chapter 18 as we continue this lesson. Let's have a break. We will return. But first, let's have a word of prayer, and then we'll return at some point, maybe at 12:30, 12:30, 12:30.